All right. Reading page 92. What? What were you doing? Did I end your work? Okay, reading page 92. What? All right, let's get started. Make way for ducklings.
Make way for ducklings. Mr. and Mrs. Mallory was looking for a place to live, but every time Mr. Mallory saw looked like a nice place, Miss Mallory was going to be responsible. Our turn.
Getting his hair.
In the
Do you
water.
need to go out for the last part of the day?
Turtles in the water. The sea was not going to raise a family. Where they had to be prosperous on turtles. So one thing, little boy and boy, one thing also. Look. Mariah.
No, but what? Okay. 93.
When they got to Boston, they felt too tired to fly any farther. There was a nice pond in the public garden with a little island on it. The very place was nice. Mr. Mullen slowed down. They splashed. Next morning, the fish for their breakfast in the mud at the bottom of the pond, but they did not find much ice. Just as they were getting ready to start their way, a strange, enormous bird came by. It was pushing a boat full of people, and there was a man sitting on its back. Good morning, Packer. Quacked Mr. Milling, being a pilot.
You probably don't want to hear this, do you?
But the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water, so Mahler followed them all around the pond and got another breakfast better than the first.
Okay. Caitlin?
No, I didn't.
No, practice away. Why are you going there?
What page, Miss Lujan?
95.
I like the place that Mr. Willis, Mr. Mrs. Oh, Mrs. Mallory. As they put outline of the camera on the bank right there. And waddled. Okay. Alone. Bye. Don't be we fill in it and raise out ducklings. Right in this spot. This pond. What? Oh, there are no fox and no turtles and no people. The people. Being parents. Peanuts. What? could be better. Keep going. Good, said Mr. Wilson. Mallard. Mr. Mallard. Mallard. Mr. Alright, keep going though. Okay, stop with delight. Delight. The letter good Mr. Wilson decided the lad could Mr. Had found a place that her suitcase. No, but look out. Look out. Wilson scratched Mr. Miss
Stop. Mallard.
Mallard all the did he? Did this ill get run over?
Okay.
What time is it? And when she got her breath, she added, "This is no place for babies with all those horrid things rushing about. We'll have to look somewhere else." So they flew over Beacon Hill and round the State House, but there was no place there. They looked in Louisburg Square, but there was no water to swim in. Then they flew over the Charles River. "This is better," quacked Mr. Mallard. "That is land island. That island looks like a nice quiet place, and it's only a little way from the public garden." "Yes," said Miss Mallard, remembering
Stop.
peanuts that
If you're not entertained.
like just the right place to hatch ducklings. So they chose a coxy spot among the bushes near the water and silted down the build their nest, and only just in time, for now they were beginning to mow. At all their old wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until the new ones grew in. What do you want?
Y'all shouldn't even have it.
But of course they would swim, and one day they swam over to the park on the riverbank, and there they met a policeman called Michael. Michael fed them peanuts, and after that the Mallards called on Michael every day. After Miss Mallard had laid 8 eggs in the nest, she couldn't go to visit Michael anymore because he had to sit on the eggs to keep them warm. off the nest only to get a drink of water or to have her lunch or to count the eggs and make sure they were all there.
Okay, 99, Dennis? Dennis, 99, unmute. Dennis, you know there? Yeah, page 99. Can y'all stop making a noise? Okay, bye. You wanna do 99? Okay, all right.
One day, the duckling hatched out. First came Jack, then Pax, then Black, then Max, then Nat, and out, and Pack and Quack. Mr. and Mrs. Norther were busy bursting with pride. It was a great responsibility to take care of so many ducklings, kept them very.
Carson, put that away. You can't do that while we on the thing. Okay, thank you. All right, Avaya, 100.
One day, Mr. Miller decided he'd like to take a trip to see what the rest of the river was like. Farther on, so off, he said, I will meet you in a week in the public garden. He quacked over his shoulder. Take good care of the ducklings. Don't worry, said Mrs. Miller. I know all about bringing up children. She did. She taught them how to swim and dive.
Okay.
From bikes,
Oh, okay.
scooters, and other things with wheels.
All right. 101, Naraya.
When at last she felt perfectly satisfied with them, she said, One morning, come along, children, follow me. Before you could wink an eye, Jack, quack, quack, knack, knack, quack, pack, and quack fell into line just as they had been taught. Mrs. Miller led the way to the water, and they swam behind her to the opposite bank. They were short and along till they came to the island.
Okay, Andrew. Which one you just said? Two. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
102. 102.
Mrs. Mallard stepped out to cross the road. With the horn, the speeding cars went Miss Mallard and seat tumbled back again. Quack, 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 went Jack. Cat, black, mat, owl, and flapped just as loud as their little quackers could quack. The cars kept speeding by and honking. Mrs. Mallard and the ducklings kept right on quack. Kept right on quack. 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 I did.
Yeah, you did. 103.
They made so much noise. Michael, he running his arms and blowing his whistle. He painted himself in double noises. One had to stop the traffic. And then back when the across the way of Paris as soon as crossed the road, the queens were safe on the other side. On the little Michael turned back and the palace to now I can read.
Okay, page 104.
It's a lie. He called Clarity and picked forms and said, "There's a family of ducks walking down the street." Clarity said, "Family of what? Ducks!" yelled Michael. "Send a police car quick!" Meanwhile, Miss Miller Miss Mallard had reached the corner bookshop and turned into Charles Street with Jack, Cat, Black, Mac, Knack, Quack, Pack, and Quack all marching in line behind her. Everyone stopped there. An old lady from Beacon said, "Isn't it amazing?" And the man who walked the street said, "Well, now ain't that nice?" And when Miss Miller heard them, she was so proud. She tipped her nose in the air and walked along with an extra ring in her waddle.
Okay, everybody.
What page?
106.
What was that? Hey, sing it. Sing it. No. Rapping. Stop rapping. Which song? Stop rapping. All the songs. When start?
When they came,
When start right
when they came to the corner of the Beacon Street, there was the police car with 4 policemen that Lansley had set
Okay.
those back. Back the traffic so Mrs. Miller and the ducklings could march across the street round to the public garden.
Okay. 108. Abaya. Dennis.
Inside the gate, they all turned around to say thank you to the policeman. The policeman smiled and waved goodbye when they reached the pond and swam across to the little island where Mr. Maldron waited for them just as he had promised.
Okay. And 109. Kenley.
Yay. Looking for it. Okay, found it. The duckling liked the new island, so once they decided to live there all day long, they followed the sky and ate peanuts. And one night falls, they went to their little island and go to bed. Bed, sleep, same thing.
Okay, good. All right, so that's your reading. That story about the ducklings. Okay, let's go ahead and get a little sleep paper. Let's review prepositions. Gonna practice some sentences. No. Give it, no. Use your own, use your own. Hey, why you about to start it anyway? Okay. No.
What page?
We're not on a page. Get back. We already know what's about to happen. All right, preposition. A preposition is a word that shows a relationship of a noun or pronoun to another word in a sentence. So this week we learned list 7 and list 8. So today I want you to create sentences. No. 1 second. Okay, so I have 5 sentences you'll create. You have your noun or pronoun, your preposition, and then the other part. I want you to create sentences connecting them together, okay? Got it? Yep, all right, you can begin. Sentences. I'll share some of the sentences that we created. All right, so number 1, dad passed in house. Okay, Mariah, what you have?
The house.
Dad went past the house. Because that other pass is PAS. Huh?
That passed the house this year.
Dad passed the house this morning. Okay.
That was
Dad walked past the house. Good. Maya.
Dad passed the house.
Dad ran past the house.
Dad passed the house. Okay, good. Number 2. Cats through in kitchen.
Cat ran through the kitchen.
The cat ran through the kitchen.
the cat walked the kitchen.
Hmm?
Cat walked.
The cat walked through the kitchen.
Cat fell through the kitchen.
The cat fell through. All right. 3. Max off and light.
Oh, it does. You can fall up and then you can slide. Wait, Max, what?
Max turned off the light.
Max off and light. Everybody.
Turn off the light.
Max turned on the lights.
Max turned off the light. Okay. Carson.
Max turned off the light.
Max turned off the light. Yeah. Okay.
Max turned off mom and dad's light.
Max turned off mom's light.
Max turned off Kate's light.
Max turned off Kate's light. Okay, 4. Kate over in puddle. Go ahead. Kate jumped over the.
Kate almost fell when she jumped over the puddle.
Kate almost fell after she jumped over the puddle.
Kate went over the puddle.
Kate went over the puddle. Good. And 5. I on and jacket.
I put on the jacket.
I put on the jacket. Avaya.
I took off the jacket.
But it's on. But all that would have worked too. But it was on. Okay.
I put on my jacket.
I put on my jacket.
I got one. I put on my sister's jacket.
I put on my sister's jacket. Okay.
Wait, actually, I have a good woman's flu.
Okay,
James.
awesome. Good job with that, guys. All right, let's go over to science and social studies. All right, let's go to science. Science, talking about states of matter. Okay. 139. 139 states of matter.
Nothing okay. That's fine. Stop talking about what? Stop talking about everything. Everything. So I can't talk about everything. So I can talk. Rain, without something wrong with it. So where is it about walking? What thing? You didn't say about Next one.
All right, so remember, guys, we have 3 states of matter. Everything is made up of matter. Matter can be found in 3 forms: a solid, a liquid, and a gas. So the first one we discussed was a solid. A solid is something that is thick and is hard. It's not easy to break up. Things like brick, clay, glass, and wood are all examples of solid. Okay, so some solids, even though they might be stretchy, they might break easily like glass. Some of them might be strong. A solid is something that is thick and it's together. Okay, and so that's a solid. Let's go to 140. Let's talk about liquids. Liquids are obviously something that we can pour.
Milk, water, of course, cars. All right.
Okay, so a liquid is obviously something that we can pour. Liquids can be poured. They don't hold their shape. Solids will hold their shape. Liquids do not hold their shape at all. If you pour it, it will change its shape. So whatever it is inside of, it will mold to that shape. So some liquids are sticky like honey, thick, and some are wet and, like water. Okay. All right, let's look at 141. Let's talk about gases. Gases are also a state of matter as well. So gases, we don't see them or anything, but we know that they exist. Like, for example, we can smell them as well. And like oxygen is a gas. We don't see it, but we know that oxygen is real because we're breathing in. And we know carbon dioxide is real because we breathe it out, and plants take in carbon dioxide. I told you guys helium is one gas that we don't see it, but we see the evidence of helium whenever a balloon is blown up. It's filled with helium. Okay? So in 142, we discussed one thing that can be all 3 states, and that is water. water can be all three states of matter. It can be a liquid, it can be a solid, and it can be a gas as well. Whenever the heat energy is taken away from water and it gets cold, 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 then we know that the water will freeze up, right? That's ice, that's a solid. Then when the heat energy comes back to the water, it starts to melt and it melts back into a liquid. And then sometimes water, the heat can dry it up. That's what it looks like. It's actually called evaporating. It turns into a gas. So water is one of the only objects that can be all three states: a solid, a liquid, and a gas. Okay? All right, so 143, let's answer those questions. I don't know. Okay, so number one, name some examples of solids. It meant a brick. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's like a brick.
A wall. A cup.
Well, I'm talking about like in the book, what they said. Bricks,
Oh, a cup.
glass,
Cup.
clay.
The
Yeah, so
solid.
write two of those.
Miss Regents, can I use the bathroom? Miss Regents, can I use the bathroom?
Yeah. All right, number two, name some examples of liquid. Milk, honey, water, obviously. Good. Yes, like soap. All right, three, what kind of energy can change water into steam? I told you guys what it was. I just said it. What type of energy turns water into steam? Heat, yes, it's heat. Yeah, heat. No, he has said it. Or how can you change matter from being a solid like ice? We literally just said it. Well, what melts it though? Heat melts it. Okay, so heat, when you add heat to it, it'll melt it. And five, how can you change matter from being a liquid like water to a solid. But how do you do it though? No, how do you make water ice? Not melting it. Well, freezing it, but taking the heat away. That's what I was saying. You take the heat away. Or exactly it does. Okay, that's fine. Just pay. All right, let's go to 144. Let's keep on talking about the air, the atmosphere, the air around us. Stop that, please. Put it in the middle. You about to be on your way out too. All right, so the air around us is also real as well. The air protects the earth from the heat that comes from the sun. Okay, so the air around us has the perfect amount of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and any other gases that are inside of the air. It has the right amount where it's not too hot, it's not too cold, but everything is just the temperature and everything is just perfect the way it is. So on 145, we talked about the atmosphere, how it's a protective blanket to keep the earth safe and warm. Like I just said, it stops things from getting too hot or too cold. It stops the earth, from getting too hot or too cold. It helps to regulate the temperature of the earth. So during the day, the atmosphere will take in the heat, and then at night, it will push the heat back out into the atmosphere. That's why during the day, when the sun is out, it's usually hotter, but whenever the night comes, it's a lot cooler. That's because the energy from the heat from the sun is being put back into the atmosphere. Then the next day, the heat will come back from the sun. Okay, so in 146, we discussed why the sky is blue, how that happens. Well, it's because when the sun is shining through the atmosphere, that is what makes the sky appear blue. It's the air is actually clear. There's no color to it, but when the sun shines through the air, that is what makes the air appear blue when we look at it. So the closer you are to the sky, the bluer it'll get. Okay. And so the closer you are is the closer you are, the lighter the blue. The further you are into the air, the darker the blue.
You're muted, Miss Flugence.
Thank you. Okay, 147. Let's answer a few questions. No, it wasn't. It just didn't. All right, good afternoon, Asa, guys. Let's go ahead and get up to reading, guys. Reading. All right, so what is the air made of? What kind of gases are in the air? Just said that. I just said, what kind of gases are in the air?
Oxygen.
Oxygen is one. Carbon dioxide. And so the air is made of gases. That's number one, gases.
No.
All right, number two. What would Earth be like if we did not have an atmosphere? We wouldn't be able to do what? Breathe. We wouldn't be able to breathe, basically. We wouldn't live. We would not live. All right, guys. Okay, okay. Stop. All right, three. How is the atmosphere around the Earth warm? That's obvious. How is the atmosphere warm? By the what? The sun warms it. Number three, the sun. You want to go. Sit all the way down and stop. And I asked you to get out your reading that you don't even have out. Why? Four, why is the sky blue? What makes the sky appear blue? But why? Why does it look blue when we look at it? What? The sun shining through it makes it look blue.
You said the sun
Number
shining
four,
through
the
it.
sky is blue because the sun shines through it.
Number 4.
All right, and five, why is the sky dark in outer space? The further you get, and it's because no sun is shining through it. That's why. Stop. All right. Okay, good. All right, go ahead and get out your social studies. That's you again? Who coming? Stop, please. Okay, page 142. in your social studies?
142.
For a second. Yeah, that's too much. I told you about that. All right, so this week in social studies, we are talking about all the different Americans who've invented different things. So in 142, we discussed the sleeping car. So we know the train was invented. It was finished in 1863, but the train did not provide a comfortable way of travel for people who were trying to travel. So the Pullman sleeping car kind of changed that. With the invention of the Pullman sleeping car, it was a train, but they had living quarters, like they had rooms where people could sleep, they could rest while they enjoyed their trip on the train. So the Pullman sleeping car helped a lot of people have more comfort while they were traveling to different places. They could rest, they could sleep as well because of the Pullman sleeper car. There were like little rooms for the people to rest in. Then on 143, we discussed the assembly line. So after the railroad was invented, cars were invented. And at that time when cars were first invented, it would usually take a really long time for a car to be invented, right? Because they would do everything by hand, so it took super long. So in the beginning, when cars were invented, not a lot of people had cars, and usually if you wanted one, you had to wait a long time to get a car. But Henry Ford decided that there is a faster way we could get cars out, and he developed what was called the assembly line. The assembly line would make a faster way to build these cars. So you would have multiple people, machines working on one part, then you pass it on to the next part, and it would help to produce way more cars than just one car a day. So the workers learned to work quickly, and cars would be assembled a lot faster. So Henry Ford did not invent cars, but his idea made it possible for people to afford a lot of different cars. So the Model T was the first affordable car. The Model T, that's what it was called. So Ford is actually a brand of car now, and it's named from Henry Ford. Okay, so then on 144, after cars were invented, the assembly line, then we have the airplane. The Wright brothers always wanted to find a way to fly. They believed that one day it would be possible for man to fly. So they started with making these gliders that, was a success. The gliders would get them where they needed to go, but the gliders wouldn't travel in the air long. So they decided to put engines on the gliders, and the engines allowed them to go a lot further. And over time, as years went on, they decided to finally try the first airplane. And they did. And it actually flew 852 feet, which is like the length of 3 football fields, which is pretty long for a first airplane. But of course, over time, as planes began to get worked on, more people came with more wisdom. Now we have the planes that we see today that can travel way further, way longer than the airplane at that time could. But the Wright brothers were determined to create a way for people to travel by plane. Okay, and they did. Okay, so on page 145, Alexander Graham Bell, he wanted a way to communicate with people who were not close to you, right? During this time, they would write letters, they would send it through the mail, and it would often take a long time to get a message. So Alexander Graham Bell wanted to find a way where people could communicate in different parts of the world a lot quicker. So he began to think of a telephone. And so he started working on it. So he did the wiring, making sure that this went that way. And so he decided in 1876, he tested out his first phone. He was in one room, his assistant was in another room. He called the assistant on the phone and said, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." And Mr. Watson came. The call worked. Then, years later, over 30 years later, in 1915, he called Mr. Watson again, but this time he was in New York, and Mr. Watson was in California. That's 2 totally different parts of America. And so we see how that was like the first long distance call the telephone worked. Now today, we can call people anywhere in the world, right? And phones are way more developed now. But Alexander Graham Bell was determined to find a way to communicate faster, and that's when the telephone was invented. Okay, let's look at 146, and I'll pause for a second. Okay, so then we have Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison wanted to find a way to have lights for a long period of time. At this time, the people would usually use like these oils that would, they would have to have an oil in order to have a light, and it wouldn't last really long. Plus, you needed the oil to light it. But Thomas Edison wanted to find a way using electricity to light up to have light shine. So he worked and worked and worked, and eventually he invented the electrical light bulb, right? And so the electrical light bulb would last a lot longer than those oil burning lamps. So he invented he didn't invent electricity, he used electricity to invent the light bulb. Okay, then later he made the phonograph, which could record and play back sound. So this was great for those who wanted to make music or record music. The phonograph would help them to do that. And he also created motion pictures, which were cameras, video cameras that could record movies, right? That could record action. And so he helped a lot of people. A new industry was created, which was music industry, the film industry, because of his inventions. Plus, now we have electricity. We have light that can last a lot longer. Okay? So he was considered a genius. Thomas Edison was called a genius in his time because of how smart he was. Okay? 147 more inventors, Garrett Morgan. So Garrett Morgan invented the gas mask, and when he first invented the gas mask, it wasn't really useful at the time. But then in 1916, there was an explosion in a tunnel where the air was really poisonous, and because the air was poisonous, the people in there were in danger. That's when his gas mask became important. So they used the gas mask to protect and keep the people safe. And then now today, firemen, use it. Soldiers use the gas mask as well. And then we have also the traffic light, which we see traffic lights all the time, everywhere, right? They can help control traffic. Garrett Morgan invented those two things. Okay. All right. So 148, 149. I know. So Norman Borlaug, he grew up in Iowa, and he was from a country where there was a lot of hunger. So what he decided to do was he decided to work with plants to find a way to create a seed that could be planted in any country so they would never run out of food. That was Norman Borlaug's thing. He invented a seed. Then we have Dr. Robert Sherney on 149. He was a medic during World War II. He became a scientist for NASA, and he invented different things that helped for space and moon exploration. So he kind of helped figure out a lot of inventions to help NASA out with their space exploration. And then on 150, we have Igor Skorsky, who invented the helicopter. And a helicopter, we know, is useful because it helps, if you want a faster way to fight fires, bring supplies, things like that, you can use a helicopter. Mary Anderson, she invented the windshield wipers on cars. And then Dr. Wang invented basically memory cards for computers to remember and store information. All right, 151, guys. Let's go ahead and match the inventor to the invention. You can work on that now. I'll give you a few minutes. You can do that. All right, let's go through it. So the Wright brothers, what did they invent? I'll tell you, it's not her. What did the Wright brothers invent? Airplane. Henry Ford invented the what?
Henry Ford
The assembly
invented the
line.
assembly line.
Igor Skorsky invented what?
The helicopter.
Scorsese invented the
He made the
helicopter.
helicopter.
Helicopter. Mary Anderson.
She made the windshield wiper.
Windshield wipers. Garrett Morgan.
He made the telephone.
Traffic light. Thomas Edison. The electric light bulb. Alexander Graham Bell.
Telephone.
Telephone. And then Dr. Wayne. Magnetic memory for computers. Good. Awesome. All right, guys. So that is it for your social studies this week. We'll test on this on Friday. All right. So that's it for Zoom, guys. Y'all have a good afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow for Bible and our phonics test. Okay?
Okay, bye.